It'll make you look good, don't worry. Hold on, the volume's really high. Give me that, you. Whisper. Stop shouting. Hello.
It's happened.
What happened to the other debate? The Agnostic.
It's happening. Yeah, we're going back
How
to that.
come we went into slavery?
Why is this so loud? Hello. Right, we're back. Andy, we're back. Don't now.
So I was getting bored.
Andy.
Yeah.
You said, is there anything that outlaws? I told you that if there were people, there's black sheep in every community. The Christians in America, if they were Christians, that's what they're referring to themselves as. However, majority of the Christian world today, if I asked them, were they really true Christians? Were they actually following what's written in the Bible? I mean, I doubt Jesus wants a bunch of people taken as slaves, working in the cotton field and whipped and raped and God knows what. I mean, we can clearly see both of us, as an atheist, as a Muslim, or any Christian standing here, we all denounce that. Am I right or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So the puzzle to me is why it took so long. In fact, as far as I understand it, it was really only in the Christian world.
Yeah, go on.
It was only in the Christian world where Britain actually, and there were a few instances before that, but in a major way, in Britain, there was various legal decisions and popular campaigns throughout the 18th century to abolish slavery, which culminated in 1807 in the act which stopped the trade in slavery. In 1833, freed all slaves.
Yes.
Now that's probably 300 years after the British started trading
a long
in
time
slaves.
for you guys, yes.
Now, well, I'm just doing comparisons here. So something like, if we take 1800 as the date when the West took a strong view against slavery. That's say 200 years. Now at that time, Islam had been going for what, 1200 years. And in fact it took British forces and American forces to convince various rulers of various Muslim, presumably not Muslim countries, I'm confused now, throughout the 19th century. There were various interventions, if you like, that convinced to give support to the anti-slavery people within the Muslim world. I'll put it that way politely.
I'll rephrase it for you, Andy. Are you asking, why did Islam take so long to abolish slavery?
Seems to be a puzzle to me.
Is that fair? Is that your question?
It is, yeah.
Why would we abolish something we don't condone in the first place? See, Andy,
same argument applies to the British. Why would it?
Let the sister come in.
Sorry,
what did you say?
Why don't you condemn?
I don't know. What I stated was this.
But why do you have?
I'll explain. Sorry. What your question might be that you said, why didn't you guys condemn? You know, let's say the West condemned slavery in 1800, yes? And your question is that why didn't you guys condemn it? Islam condemned it, let's be fair, until much later. Is that what you're saying? I'm saying, yes, but would you like, I'll record the audience. Come on, man.
Everyone's camera shy.
Anyway, the thing is that I stated clearly is, why would Islam condemn something it doesn't condone? Support. Why, when we don't allow it, why would we condone it? Does that make sense to you?
By the way, Islam actually narrowed down. You know, the slavery was open before, like anyone could just take a slave. A free man could be enslaved. What Islam did was basically only the captives, which were captured during the war, only they could be basically kept as what you would call in the Western world as slaves. Even though in Islam you wouldn't use the word slave as you would do normally the conventional slavery, which the word is actually riq, which is basically specifically for the captives of war. So if you're talking about captives of war, yes, Islam still basically is something that condones it. So you don't just let someone that you captured, like today we have prisoners of war. Yes, the prisoners of war today are not just let go free. They're kept in prison. They're kept in prison. For example, you must have heard of Guantanamo Bay. Do you think there are slaves in there? I would think they're slaves. What do you say, Andy?
Can you give me some examples of these wars where prisoners were taken? Because you
Andy,
speak in very general terms.
Any war.
I don't have
any war.
a time or a place or
Hold on,
an example.
before we go off in that direction deeply, looks like it, yeah? We were talking about something else prior.
Yeah,
that was fair.
Talking about why religion doesn't evolve and science stuff.
Yeah. That's correct.
That
and we will
aside,
finish it.
yeah.
However, I will allow this to be finished.
By the way, there are many things that the atheist and the agnostic agree with, which I find abhorrent and I find to be completely barbaric.
So
for example, abortion.
Yeah.
Yes, where the baby is ripped open, the baby is pulled and ripped limb by limb. I don't know if you've actually observed. Wait a minute. I don't know if you've actually observed abortion, but it is so barbaric and it is so uncivilized. If anyone watches it, they will say this is not humane at all.
I would.
You would?
And I'm
Well, you're a different person
No, wait
then,
a minute.
from normal humans.
No, I take issue with this. Because
Really?
I hear this quite a lot, this sliding from atheism. Now, atheism is a lack of belief in God. That's it.
No, I didn't say atheists. I said many, including the atheists. I said many, including the atheists, would actually agree with this, the abortion.
Including some Christians, including some Muslims.
That's why I said including. I didn't exclude.
Some people
Yes,
would agree
yes.
with abortion.
No, because she mentioned religious people. Why don't they condemn it? I'm saying why don't atheists and agnostic condemn abortion throughout the world? Like for example, in this country, in all the Western countries.
Well, you can say it isn't conscious yet, but I mean,
Sorry, it isn't?
that's not the answer you want to hear.
Wait, it isn't what?
It isn't conscious yet. The baby
I didn't get that.
in the mother
Conscious.
till the third month isn't
It's not alive,
It
she's
hasn't
saying.
got a brain.
It doesn't have a brain.
It has not a brain.
It does have a brain.
No, it does have 3 bubbles, which also insects have.
Sorry, at what age do you know? Wait a minute. Do you know at what age, until what age it's permissible to have an abortion?
3 months.
Until 23 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes? At that stage, it looks completely like a baby. It has all the limbs. It has the heart beating.
Yeah.
Yes?
But
Which,
then
wait
that's
a minute. Just because you define it as not living,
Yeah.
yes, I see that as perfectly normal human development.
Of course,
Yes?
I mean,
And wait a minute. If you observe that baby, trust me, if you personally observe that baby, and you think that it's okay to pull it limb by limb and kill it in that stage, then I don't think a normal human being would ever say that. The only way for you to dehumanize it, first they don't call it baby, they call it fetus. Yes, it's actually a fetus. I'm not saying that it's not. Yes, but you know when the mother has a baby, even if it's 1 week old, even when she knows she's pregnant by 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, she'll say, "I'm pregnant with a baby. My baby is in my stomach." Yes, the mother has an attachment. When your mom had you, she didn't say there's a fetus in me. She didn't dehumanize you. Yes. So anyone who says that this is just a fetus and it doesn't think because it has a brain, it hasn't been developed, and obviously the brain is not functioning, yes, so what? It has the potential to function. It has the potential of life.
No, it can develop.
Yes. Who has asked that baby? Yes. You have asked the mother, yes, can you abort? She said, yes, that's fine. But who asked the baby? Which to me is equally human. Like the mother. If the mother has rights, the baby has rights. In fact, the baby cannot defend itself. Yes? The mother can defend herself. The mother can say yes or no. The baby can't. The baby is vulnerable. And that is what I'm saying. Who observed the rights of that human? To be aborted, to be killed in cold blood. And this is legal murder, if you ask me. So anyway, if you're going to talk about slavery and all these things that you find in religious books and so on, yes, what about all these things which are not in the religious books, which most of the religions, to my knowledge, actually disagree with? But today it has been harmonized in the society. Everyone that I know, majority of the people, they're okay with it. And I'm sure you both are okay with it. I'm asking you now.
That's very interesting what you've done there, because you've given a very convincing argument using reason why we should have or a certain view of abortion, which I can see the force of your arguments. They're very good. So what I'd be saying is that we live in a very diverse society globally, and certain countries like ours here, we have very many different viewpoints, and we're always going to argue
What's
about
your viewpoint on abortion?
Let me finish. So therefore we need to have a language where we can discuss these sort of issues without bringing our gods into it. I mean, you can respect other people's gods by all means, but what you just did then was a fine example of using reason as a powerful, persuasive force to argue the case, and that's brilliant, because I can hear what you're saying, and that's good. And it was good. You're not just saying, oh, it's written in the old scriptures, therefore.
No, I didn't know.
So that's good. Yeah. So that's what I like to hear.
Good. I would like to
because and my argument is, and do you follow this? My argument is that based on the diversity argument, the fact that we have Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, atheists, Hindus, everybody, all together here, and the country and the world as a whole. So therefore, we have to conduct these kind of debates particularly about moral issues, in a common language, which will refer back to one's own religious beliefs, or in my case,
solely,
in your
it makes
case,
sense.
it will be. I mean,
It's subjective, isn't it? Morality is subjective.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think
Do you
so.
think it's objective?
I think we get into philosophical difficulties, of course, about what we mean by subjective and objective.
What is
So something I ponder about all the time. I mean,
It's inevitable in such discussions if you ask me.
the first question is to clarify what we mean by subjective and objective.
Fair enough, okay.
So, and I doubt if two people would agree with that. There's a very clear sense in which...
Sorry, did you say I doubt if two people will agree with it? That's actually subjective. Thank you very much. You agree with me?
No, I mean, it is an area, perhaps an area of
Yeah, that's
contention.
what I'm saying.
I'll give you my sense of what
Fair enough,
it
yeah,
means
go on.
and why I can say morality is objective. That's why I
Okay, go on.
want to justify that. So I was sort of, let's divide the world up into three types of things. So there is the, in terms of how we know things, there's the obviously thing like the ground and the tree and stuff, which carries on existing whether I'm here or not.
Yeah.
I've no problem in accepting that. So these
Only
things
if you're
are
observed.
only what?
Yeah, only if you're observed.
Only if you observe it.
Oh, that's quantum mechanics. Let's talk about the world of everyday objects. Thank you for the physics intervention. But I'm talking about the world of everyday objects because that's what we're talking about.
So let's call it established science.
Yeah. Well,
Even the religious people will agree with
we can
that.
talk about quantum mechanics later when
Or Matrix.
we've had enough. Yeah, forget all those. We'll just assume that there's a real world.
I like the
and we're part
Matrix,
of
come on,
it.
leave it out.
So there's things that persist, right? Irrespective of whether there's anybody at all. Right? Then there's my sense of the greenness of that tree, for example, or the fluffiness of your lovely beard. But that's my sense. Nobody can share that, so I can't even say whether my green is the same as your green. The question doesn't really have any weight to it.
What's that?
It was a gift from somebody to give
Okay.
to you.
Jazakallah.
But so we're okay with that. So that's genuinely subjective.
Okay.
Right. But then there's something else, which is kind of intermediate ground. So I'd like to say there's things like, well, my usual example is money. So I can say that, when I go and buy a sandwich in Pret a Manger, it's £1.99, say. That to me appears... I always get the cheapest in the sale, but, out of date.
Greg's.
When did I last buy a sandwich? Oh, damn it. I've been spotted.
the
We
cheapest
know
one?
who he's working for now.
£3.99 at Pret a Manger. So the point is, that feels like it's objective, it's real, people would agree with that. But on the other hand, if everybody just disappeared, some virus or something, in what sense would it carry on being £3.49?
What are you on about, bro? If everyone just disappeared? Who disappeared? What, humanity?
The thought experiment.
Okay.
So in the absence of anybody,
So it's a hypothetical
streets are
question.
empty, everybody's dead. Does it really still carry, does it make any sense for there to be money? I mean, does money actually have any sense about it if there's nobody around?
Well, it's related, isn't it?
I mean, you could look at an old Roman coin.
Yeah.
In its time, it could buy a loaf of bread. But, well, actually, because it has sort of antique value, it probably buy you.
You can buy a bakery
villa
today.
in France now, depending on the.
You're
but the
saying
point
if it
being,
became obsolete.
yeah. So there's certain things that I can say are objective because they're communally shared. We agree on them, but they still depend on the collectiveness of humans to share those thoughts.
No, we
so
were
I
talking
put
about
morality in that.
we were talking. Look, I think you mixed up the material world with the morality world.
I did,
because
deliberately,
it's not really a fair comparison if you ask me.
Okay.
We are talking about morality. For example, do you think at one point homosexuality was completely banned, completely prohibited in this country? It was basically illegal. People used to go to jail or whatever the punishment was at that time. But today it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly accepted. Yes. Now wait a minute. That's why I'm talking about the subjective morality.
Yeah.
That at one point it went like 180 degrees, completely banned to being completely accepted. You see what I mean? So where do humans stop in such subjective morality? For example, today incest might not be allowed, yes, but tomorrow it might be perfectly normal. Where do we stop? Where do we draw the line? Because as far as religious people are concerned, we actually have an injunction in the scripture we have. So we know that this has been dictated to us by someone of higher authority. But in terms of an atheist, in terms of agnostic people, they do not have such a standard. The standards do vary. In fact, it varies from country to country. Yes? And in some countries, it might be acceptable. What might be legal in that country might be illegal in another country. So that's why I'm asking you, what you're going to use as basically a yardstick to standardize the morals in a society? Or is just society going to dictate the morals to you? For example, if you had majority of people,
Yeah, it's a concept.
if you had majority of people and they all agreed, okay, let's have incest, yes? So the minority will obviously be the ones who will not benefit from that, because you work on democracy and you work on the majority, so the majority rules and the majority says yes, it's okay, but then what about those people who disagree with it? Where do you basically say yes, it is moral for one person but might be immoral for another person, and then who makes that decision? That is the question I'm asking in terms of morality, whether it's subjective or objective, and to me it is subjective regardless of how you see it. Yes, so unless there is someone of authority, like for example today, if you didn't have the law, there'll be chaos here. Yes, if you didn't have the traffic lights or the traffic laws, there'll be chaos everywhere. So that's what I'm saying. There has to be some standard authority which dictates the laws.
Yeah, but okay. But now you say that. I mean, the thing is, we just adapt our laws to the things which are now here. So like homosexuality. Okay, we realized it was stupid that we persecuted them, and now it's okay. So it's changeable. But I mean.
But on who decides that? That's the problem.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, then you say.
We are still talking about human beings. So the human beings who are homosexuals today are human beings, and the human beings 100 years ago from today, they were also human beings.
Yeah.
Who decides what is right and what is wrong to such a drastic degree? You know, like from being death penalty to being completely normal in a society. Where do we draw the line?
And this is that everything which is written in the holy book is true.
No, I'm not talking about the holy books right now. I'm talking about you as someone who doesn't believe in holy books.
Of course, but I mean, you say that you have a fixed point, what's written there, and
Yeah.
that's all good and that's all true and it should be lived. But for me, it's a historic development. This book. I mean, it's just like it's difficult to say because you believe absolutely that it's true and it's been dictated. I see the historic points in it.
No. Remove God from the equation for a minute, and think for yourself as someone who doesn't believe in God. Yes? How would you establish this standard in a society where, like the gentleman rightly pointed out, we got people of different backgrounds, various people, various thinking.
Go for the common, for
the majority?
No, not for the majority. I would
Naveed from
choose
SCDawah.
the law or the thing from which most of the people benefit. I mean, there will always be people excluded, but I just want to have most of the people, you know, lead a good life.
My brother Hashim on the house.
Jesse, stop
My fellow
disturbing.
Muslim blasphemer.
Okay.
That position has problems because let's say everybody in a poll. I mean, you'd be subject to polls all the time, wouldn't you? If that happened?
Remember the poll
I mean,
text?
how often do you poll everybody to find out what their morals are? So you can't really do that. No, what I'd suggest it's part of the answer, but because what's missing out of these things. So you're posing the question of what's the foundation?
I'm asking you, what do you use as standard
a foundation
to basically to basically standardize or define the morals in the society? Who decides that?
Okay.
First, who decides it? Secondly, how do you decide it?
I can only speak about my own society.
Fair enough, yeah.
Other societies will have different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And that therein lies an interesting point. That essentially each society, each culture has a whole history of how it got to where it is now and where it's going in the future. Ours in this country, which I know more about, is essentially you have to look at a process, almost like a conversation between generations, between people. So I'd say that it's a process, and it's people working things through using reason, like you did on the abortion issue. That's how we do it. So, and I don't think the abolition of the laws against homosexuality were down to a vote. It was people who were, you could even argue it was undemocratic. There were people who saw themselves ahead of public opinion, and they said, we have to clear the way because this is demonstrably unjust, and we can argue for that. So they argued for it, and through the institutions of this country, through Parliament and all that sort of thing, they argued that, yes, we should repeal the laws against homosexuality because we have reasonable arguments. Now, 100 years before, the arguments would have been different. They would have said, look, in the Bible it says that you must stone people, and that was general. But so what I'm saying is that it's not kind of a sudden thing where you lurch from one thing to another. That you have to look at a particular society or culture.
So you're saying we have to go through this trial and error, through people sacrificing, through people dying unnecessarily. Do you really think that's a good way of going about in a society through trial and error, where you actually jeopardize some people's lives, just to make sure that at one point we might have a law that is just and right for everyone? Seriously? I mean, I give you the example of incest, yeah? So you're saying some people have to go and sleep with their mothers or fathers, yes, and then it becomes normal in a society. So until then, those people will basically be ostracized or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Why should it become normal in society? Because it's a very deep-seated human instinct